Hi, here's another short episode of 21 Lip Flexibilities for Trumpet by Nathan Ost. This is number 3 in the first volume. I find these very interesting and very useful. What I recommend for your work is, if you're working out of this book or doing any other flexibility material, pick 1 or 2 exercises and work on that for the day. Allow yourself 10 minutes and work on improving the qualities of what you're doing and getting more comfortable with it. And then move on to something else. Or you can use these as a jumping off point for working on range, speed, agility, articulation, musical expression, and anything else. If you find that you really enjoy certain ones of these patterns, then stick with it for a while. Give yourself permission. As long as your mind is staying engaged and you're enjoying the process, you're good. I mean, there aren't too many times in life, except when we're kids, where we get to really become very, very engaged in something and enjoy the process. So hopefully that's what your practice is all about. I try and make mine that way. Now I'm doing number 3, as I mentioned. So this one, there are tempo markings. He says 126 to 160 to the quarter note. This is in 4/4. It's all 8th notes. So da 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 da. So that's 160. So I like going fast, and it's okay for those perfectionists of you out there. It's okay to be sloppy, as long as you don't stay sloppy. So don't be concerned about pushing beyond what you're able to control. It's actually very healthy. It's a little bit like riding a toboggan. You don't have a lot of control. You just try and keep it pointed down the hill and do the best you can. And there's something very exciting about that. Here, we're so much focused on control and of the dynamics, the pitch, the sound, the time, everything to do with the qualities, that sometimes we're not having fun just going fast. So I'm going to remind myself of that tempo again. And I'm going to try and play the first one at that tempo. It didn't feel good. I got through it. And so I asked myself the question, what do I want? I want it to feel better. There's something in there that is just, I'm notching the notes a little bit. And I think this is something that many of you are going to have difficulty with. And maybe it's kind of the normal way that you play 100% of the time, where we're thinking of these as dee-da-da, dee-da-da, dee-da, and we're trying to put those individual notes in a different place. I'm trying to actually play one note and flow into the right place at the right time. I was a little stiff on that, so. And I'm still bumping a little bit in the low register. So don't hesitate to mess around with it, and then bring yourself back to, what am I trying to accomplish here? So I was trying to be a little bit more comfortable with my balance in the lower register. Keep the continuity of the notes and feel these, especially at that tempo. I think you can probably see I'm feeling it in the half note beat, a la breve. Instead of thinking dee-da-da, dee-da-da, da, individual 8th notes, or dee-da, 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 because that's the musical pattern. So it's always easier if you follow the musical pattern. And I'm going to try the second version. This is still number 3, but this is the second version. And as I mentioned before, sometimes he'll give you 3 versions, and one will be, they'll be in different keys. So this one's in the low register. So I'm going to slow this down a little bit and see if I can play this at the lowest marked tempo. I'm going to go slower than the mark tempo and then gradually speed up. I have one of my students, a doctoral student, as a matter of fact, who was at and another student who said the same thing, who was at a concert that I performed in recently, and it was with a couple other high-level professional players, they said, it seems like what's different about you guys is that it all sounds so even. So that's something to listen for, especially when you're doing complicated slurring things like this. And I heard that the lower notes were just not, the sound wasn't even. Now, it may seem like I'm being picky talking about this stuff. I am, but there's a lot of enjoyment in it if you care about the quality of things. So that's what it keeps coming back to. Now, I'm going to mention something else here that it's a great target to aim at, and it's very practical. It's something that you want musically, and it takes a fair amount of skill, agility, speed, and that is whenever you land on a note, you want to be directly in the center of the note, as your teachers tell you, in the center of the note, and you want to be there immediately. So that's kind of what I was working on. I'm going to do it again, and you heard me taking time. So when I change, especially downward slurs, for me, especially downward slurs, and especially going into the low register, I need to really listen to see, am I on that note and is it stable instantaneously? If it is, then I'm getting close to the effect that I want, which is nobody notices that I'm changing notes. They hear the different pitches, but they don't get the impression that I'm pushing and pulling in order to put that note in the right place. I'm just flowing directly to it. So it's a little bit like a diver, for example, platform diver, which we see in the Olympics sometimes. They're doing a very, very complicated movement in the middle of the air with perfect timing so they enter the water vertical. It's incredibly complex. It takes an incredibly high level of computational power from your brain in order to do that. That's very similar to what we're doing. We're trying to do the complicated dive and land exactly correctly on the lower note, in this case, is what I was talking about. Okay, now I'm going to move it to the upper register and see what we can find there. Now you can hear me pausing. I was going to say hesitate. That's not what I'm doing. I'm keeping it going all the time. A steady stream of air. I'm sustaining all the time. I'm sustaining all the time. So I heard one famous trumpet player say, whenever I play the trumpet, I'm continuously crescendoing. And for some reason that kind of works for me. It's just remember to maintain flow. The flow might be more aggressive or more gentle. It might be more intense. It might be more subtle, but it's always maintained. There's always a flow. And that's exactly what's happening when you do these flexibility exercises. So you heard me pausing, and I'm doing that therapeutically. Then I'm going to put it in a tempo. Let me see if I can. Okay. This is a kind of therapy. It says 126 to 160. So I'm going to take it, I'm not even going to look at the metronome. Let's see here. Okay, so I slowed it down quite a bit. Okay, I'm at 104 now. Okay, that feels a certain way, and this is why I'm doing this. I have a little bit better control. I feel more secure, but I'm actually not as smooth as when I was going faster. And that's because I'm tending to hold on to the notes a little bit more. I can make it sound pretty good, but I'm starting to get a little bit tight. So I do a lot of things to mitigate this problem, but to stay with the theme here, what I'm going to do is this therapy, which is change the tempo. I might go way slower than that. Let's see. So I slowed it down to 60, and that's the quarter note beat. Some of you could probably tell I played all the way to the end of my air that time. Constantly carrying, constantly crescendoing, lifting, gliding with the air all the way through. That's the main physical thing I'm concentrating on. And then I'm just listening to the quality of the sound. Now, I found that more difficult. And most people are going to find playing it slower more difficult. So let's speed it back up again. I'm going to go back up to the minimum recommended tempo. Okay. That sounds like it should work. Now what I do before I start is I get in the feeling of the tempo, so it's in my body. So you see I'm doing the fingerings? Now, if you notice, that's interesting. I'm not going. In other words, I don't have the same rhythm with the fingers as I do in the music. Strange. Let me try that again. You see? Now that's something most people don't notice. But if you take a little time and work the fingers like that, I'm still feeling da 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 dee da dee da dee da. Let's see if I'm close to the tempo. Dee da da dee da da. As usual, I sped up a little bit. Da 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 dee da dee da dee da dee 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 da da dee da da dee da 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 dee da da dee dee. See, now I'm really improving my playing because I'm bringing the fingers into perfect rhythmic timing. They are percussive. So, and that helps me, especially if I'm playing the actual pattern that's on the music. Now, you see how the rhythm goes against what you're hearing? Those things have to be integrated with one another. But if the fingers can become automatic, then you're really solving a lot of a problem. And again, many players don't recognize that it's the fingering that's goofing them up. I think it's the Sherbrooke tongue trainers that every pattern that he gives is he has you do it with the fingers, a finger pattern first, some kind of finger pattern to become aware of that, and then go ahead and play the exercise. And I think that's a similar thing to what I'm recommending here. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I think I've given you a lot of things to work on, and I've lost my train of thought since it's late in the day and I haven't eaten yet. Don't tell my wife. But I think I've given you enough to work on and get some enjoyment out of this and improve your playing. But remember, listening is what we usually don't do. We're so involved with playing the trumpet and trying to get the result that we're aiming at, which is fine, but we're so involved with that process that we're not actually listening to the result. So learning to listen as you're playing is great. It's helpful to record yourself, as I'm doing right now. Hopefully I won't be too embarrassed by what I hear when I listen to it as I do the editing process. In any case, thanks for spending some time with me and being patient with my brain as I'm going through these things. And I hope you can apply some of these things to your playing and get some benefit from them. I'll catch you later on. Bye-bye.